How's everybody doing? This is Luca Majno with Learn to Unlearn. We are back for a weekly show now. That's what we're doing from now on the Liberty Beacon on TLBTV with my guest, Gregory Ford. And this is not my show. This is Greg's show. This is what I keep telling everybody. I'm facilitating this, and it's really important for us to get up-to-date information out. So we decided to do this once a week. I just have a few things to get off my chest here before we start. Gregory, if you don't mind, if you could be so kind to let me to get this out. I wanted to say thank you to all my friends on social media, first of all, who encouraged me to make a difference. Some people call me an armchair or a keyboard warrior without realizing that I have a physical condition or without even knowing me personally. One of the reasons why we are here today is to expose the evil that's going on in honor of those who passed on before us, and in a way, it touches those who are still living among us. And there are so many tribes who have suffered before us. And today we're driving our fancy cars, we're enjoying our lifestyle today, but it's all thanks to the people who died. The blood spilled by the people that we supposedly trust today, and it's continuing. These people are continuing playing their game like a chess game from their supposed throne. And in this broadcast, and the time I have to speak, I want to address two tribes in particular, ones that we rarely hear about, but whose elders I'm in touch with almost on a daily basis, one of them anyway. And his tribe struggles every day to this day because nothing has changed in this world, and so few of us know about such horrors. And in future shows we'll probably speak of them. But the first one that I wanted to talk about is the Coast Salish Nation. And I want to speak their language just to give them as much honor as I can, because I speak to this elder almost every day. And last time I talked to him, he said, Haichka. And everything stopped. And I said, what? He said, Haichka. That means thank you. And he said, Haichka Siem means respect and honor, from a beautiful area known as Nanaimo, British Columbia. And just the word Nanaimo, right? Just like Cherokee, because of the Europeans that can't pronounce the word Salagi. The proper word for Nanaimo is Nanaimach. And, the Europeans couldn't pronounce it properly. And the other tribe that I wanted to give honor to today is the Taino of what was called Hispaniola, where Columbus decimated over 98% of the tribe in less than 10 years, saying that they were naked and without arms, and feeding them to the dogs, hanging them over fires, raping and pillaging and killing all of them. Most things we don't hear about in books, and the lies continue. And this is why Greg and I are here today. And for the Taino, I want to mention the name Enrique in their honor, because Enrique was the Taino that the Spaniards learned to fear because of his tenacity, his defense, and his revolt against the invader. Today, it's exactly the same thing. The only difference is that they can't just come out and kill us all. So they're going to do it in increments, right? Slowly, like Goering said in World War II. Slowly, so they don't see it coming. And most of them don't. And Greg, this is for you, because in German, as I found out yesterday, they call people like you and I empaths. They call them Weltschmerz, which means that these are people that that feel the anxiety that's caused by the ills of this world. And we're determined to speak of the horrors. So that's pretty much why we can sleep at night. And I think it's a really important message, and it's a good way to start the show out. So thank you for allowing me to say that, Greg. It's important to give honor to people and to get people on the right track, because it's so important to have people like you on the show. And we're going to be essentially saving lives with this information. It's so important.
Oh, well, thank you, Luca, for bringing that up. The Native American issue is really something that needs to be brought forward and spoken about in the news and talk shows like this. It's just like right now, of course, with the North Dakota issue, you don't hear anything more about it. Okay, you know, in a court designed basically to give the powers that be whatever decision that they want. That's what we saw. Yes, the discrimination is still alive and active and virulent, in every sense of the word. Uh, you know, for those who don't know, uh, Donald Trump, okay, actually has construction interests on the pipeline. Okay, most people don't know that, and that's why he was so vehemently against any kind of settlement with any other tribes that were protesting. Okay, uh, you know, there's a lot to be said about it. When I filed to stop the torture and abuse that was going on, when I actually filed charges, one of the first things that our government did was they looked through my records, trying to figure out how they could get some sort of bludgeon to use against me, instead of just stopping the torture that was going on against the Iraqis. No, they said, okay, what can we use? Oh, we see that it's on his birth certificate that he's Native American. And they launched a full-scale investigation to try to figure out how to use that so they could bludgeon me into conceding, okay, on the torture issue, all right? And to their woe and despair, they found out, yes, I actually am one half Native American and one half Scots, okay? And any of the Cherokee know why the Scots were there in North Carolina. So yes, that's one of the first tools and weapons our government uses now, is to find out what ethnic background, which, let's face it, most Americans are ethnically blended, okay? They're heterogeneous, they're not homogeneous, okay? Not like our government seems to imply. And always remember, you know, the bumper sticker that I have on the back of my vehicle, and it says, yes, aliens have illegal aliens have always been a problem, all right? Just ask any Native American. That's how we view all of this, all right? So by all means, Luca.
Before you start, before we switch from Native Americans, I got to say this, because I was looking at that North Dakota issue for quite a while, and all of a sudden you find out, oh, oil interest, right? Oil tycoon, whatever.
Yep.
But guess what's under North Dakota? Go look at it. The Williston Basin.
Right.
People go, the what? The Williston Basin, which is one of the
Right.
largest oil shale gas deposits underneath North Dakota, the tip of South Dakota, and the northeastern part of Montana, I believe. And, you know, clear the Indians, right?
Also, the Williston Basin is the site of the largest ever in recorded history oil spill. Okay. Did you hear about that? Oh, no, you didn't hear about that. No, and you won't. Okay. So, and also, and you know, they're my native Cherokee. They're in the Muskogee Creek tribe of Oklahoma. Something that needs to be pointed out. Yes, the poor Cherokee were driven almost entirely across the United States on the Trail of Tears. And then when they finally got to the Rosebud Reservation, which my great-grandmother started the first school on the Rosebud Reservation and taught Native American children, okay? And they still revere her today. It's funny how the Scots and the Cherokee really revere education. Well, you can thank my great-grandmother for that, all right? They still revere her today. But surprise, they finally, the bad old Anglos, okay, who were doing this, okay, the pioneers and so forth, they decided, oh yes, here's some really crappy land we can park the Cherokee on. And guess what? It turned out to be one of the largest oil deposits in the United States. And as a result, very interesting, the Cherokee and the Muskogee Creek Cherokee and the Osage started to die. They were systematically murdered for the oil that was on the land that they were forced to take. uh-oh, something doesn't smell right about this. Okay, so I'm ready to go right now, Luca, with some very interesting things about that don't smell right, especially about what's going on in Afghanistan, what's going on, excuse me, we call it Pipelanistan, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. What has happened with it, since, 2 days ago was the 100th anniversary of JFK's birthday. All right. And I've got some new information for anybody that'd like to hear it by now. And this is new information. Okay. And also, what is going on with the White House and the Oval Office? Who are these people that got elected? I mean, it sounds worse than Monty Python. Okay. I mean, I thought the Bushes were disastrous. OMG. That's all I can say. Goodness. And by the way, I just want everybody to know on the show that we have now become one of the largest attacked shows, podcast, radio shows in the United States. Okay, that's right. Liberty Beacon, okay, has become one of the largest attacked shows, thanks to the country of the Ukraine, with American intelligence, electronic intelligence intercepts going on from the Ukraine. Everybody hearing that should say, especially the intelligence collectors in the Ukraine, should say, hey, what is going on here? Why are U.S. intelligence efforts directed towards back to the United States from the country of Ukraine? What are we saying on the show that makes us so dangerous, where they put an effort like that to going on? Almost a quarter of a million attacks have happened in the last few weeks alone. All right, nonstop, literally. Okay, they're going on every hour now. Okay, so I hope your listeners would certainly enjoy listening to what we think is going on, all right now, to make the United States collect and make the major effort. They're not collecting on the North Koreans as much as they are us. They're not collecting on the Russians as much as they are this one little radio station called Liberty Beacon. So I'm ready to talk about what I think I know is going on. You think your listeners want to hear something?
I believe so. I think that's why we're all here, and it's important to get it all out. I mean, this is the timely issue. So.
Okay. Well, like I said, I spent 3 decades in the intelligence business, and I can say very, very little of intelligence work is cloak and dagger anymore. Okay. And I can give the Russians their fair due. Okay. And all of this that's going on right now, yes, they are the masters along with the Israelis. Okay. Now, what do your listeners think would happen when a country falls apart like the Soviet Union did? Okay. Falls apart, and they have the largest intelligence collection systems in the world. What do you think happens to all those highly trained people? Well, those highly trained people all got together, and they said, we're tired of this miserable place, cold all the time, freezing. We want to get out of here. We want a little sun. Where can we go where we're appreciated? Guess what? They went to Israel, okay? And Israel is nobody's slouch when it comes to, so first of all, the members of the Jewish faith, of course, we know that. But secondly, their intelligence people are almost next to none. The only ones that can hold a candle to their collectors are the former workers' paradise intelligence people. So what we have here is Russia, okay, it's now Russia, sending all those poor old folks that are unemployed over to Israel. And guess what they did? They started the most lethal, active intelligence syndication known to mankind, and that is what has been running several countries in the world. Right, Mr. Soros? Okay. Right, Mr. Trump? All right. Okay, that's what we have here now. We have the Russian Israeli intelligence syndicate going on. Okay. Gee, does that make sense? With Jared Kushner, the son-in-law of Donald Trump, okay, basically considered the ad hoc son-in-law of Ben Netanyahu, the prime minister of Israel, and they want to have what is it? What is this? Back channels for communication, so nobody else can hear, to the former Soviet Union, to Vladimir Putin, a full colonel in the KGB. Who is this Jared Kushner? Okay, who says this? Okay, what is his premise for doing this? Well, I got news for everybody. Jared Kushner, excuse me, is this? He is a member of the Russian-Israeli mob syndicate. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? It should, because they're about to take over the United States. They're about to commandeer the Oval Office. All right, and at this point, there's very little stopping them. We've got Donald Trump, who is anybody's idea, okay, of what a disastrous president, okay, should be. Okay, he is that. And on top of everything else, what is this idiot doing? Okay, he's got wife troubles now that nobody wants to talk about. You know, from what I understand, she's trying to figure out how to file divorce papers on him. Okay, they don't. Divorces are pretty simple in the workers' paradise. Okay, now, yes, she wants to get rid of this clown. Okay, in every sense of the word. But with this going on, what does he do? What does our president do? He's got a girlfriend now. Okay, gee, imagine the groper. Okay, the Trumpster. Showing up with an exotic Asiatic girlfriend. Okay, well, everybody's trying to sit on it, keep it quiet, but it looks like it's out now. Okay, so gee, that's what we really need at this time, with the biggest explosions heard on the Asian continent going off. Okay, in Kabul, Afghanistan, and on the face of it, it looks like those explosions that happened 48 hours ago are aimed at something that is in the underground vaults of those embassies, the German embassy and the East Indian embassy. Okay, somebody set those explosions off, but nobody wants to talk about who did it. Okay, well, here, for your listeners, please let me enlighten them, if you don't mind, Luca. Yes, it is ISIS, folks. Now, why would the Israeli consortium have ISIS, who, by the way, ISIS just received $1 billion worth of weapons and ammunition and specialty explosives, okay? Guess where they got them, folks? They got them from the United States.
No.
Period. The U.S. Army actually made sure that they got $1 billion worth of goodies, okay? What have I ever said that on your show, Luca? Have I ever said Israel is largely responsible? Well, Israel has everything to gain by having a group of really angry Sunni Arabs rampaging around the Middle East, well-armed, well-funded, okay, using Sharia law as justification, okay? And the leadership has been largely, it hasn't been Mr. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. No, guess who has been really leading them, okay? Mr. Baghdadi, yes, most people won't even admit this, but I will, okay? Because I had a face-to-face with Mr. Baghdadi in the city of Samarra, Iraq, okay? He's from Samarra, Iraq, and he is a colonel in the Mukhabarat. No one wants to talk about this. Why is that? Well, because when I made the effort to recruit him, okay, as an asset for the United States, I find out, uh-oh, he is an asset for Israel, and he's an asset for the army that he has produced, okay? And the United States tends to do that with people that are movers and shakers, okay? And which he is. So Mr. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi gets all the goodies he wants for his Sunni movement. They scare everybody to death. They chop heads off, gets it on CNN. I've never seen a more capable manipulative body like the Sunni uh, uh, ISIS group. Okay, I mean they completely monitor, they mangle, they put their own stories out on the internet. And who is supporting the internet and control of the internet? Mr. Lieberman, who just almost got a job as heading up the FBI. Hillary Clinton, okay? Hillary Clinton, okay? Gosh, John McCain. What is it with these people? All right, Lindsey Graham. All these people we've been seeing a lot of lately, okay? Lindsey Graham. Yes, they're supporting ISIS, okay? And the funny thing was, what happened in Benghazi? It's still happening in Benghazi. And guess who's doing it? ISIS. Gee, I was never that good in math, but I can still put 2 and 2 together, okay? That's what we have going on right now. And we have the Army, U.S. Army giving ISIS $1 billion, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of weapons, okay? We have Joe Lieberman, who's doing his best to accommodate ISIS, okay? So I think the picture is beginning to emerge now, all right? And then we have a president now who says he's going to do something about ISIS. Hell, I don't even know if he could even spell ISIS, okay? The way he's been carrying on. So we have a situation right now in Pipelanistan, AKA Kabul, Afghanistan, okay? That's really why we want to maintain control of Afghanistan. And by the way, it is heating up again. Yes, it is heating up again. Troops are being sent back into Afghanistan and sent back into Iraq. All right. Can you believe this nonsense? Okay. And I find out, I was wondering, it took me a while to figure out it was the Bush family who was behind that. Okay. They still are. All right. But guess who's responsible? Okay. For 98% of the heroin cultivation.
There you go.
It's the CIA. The CIA. What is going on in this country? Okay. Are we being attacked yet? Luca?
Well, this is something.
Like we are.
This is something that we should be talking about, because that noise in your microphone that's coming through is probably the NSA doing that, right? So, I mean, you may as well say that, because
right.
You're getting a lot of crackling every time you talk. So that's probably what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's what we have here going on, all right? We have the CIA running 98% of the heroin production of the world in Afghanistan, okay? No, I mean, and then to top it off, everything else off, they've got the CIA is running the largest torture for payment, torture for hire, assassination group worldwide, okay? And this resulted from the Phoenix program in Vietnam, the Phoenix program, the atrocious Phoenix program that wasn't, our government types think that was the silver lining in the storm, right, of Vietnam. Guess what? It wasn't. It just made really angry communists when they finally took over, and the bloodbath that ensued, okay, thanks to Phoenix program. And then I find out it was Dick Cheney who said, okay, let's go ahead and implement the Phoenix program, which was implemented in El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, okay. in anybody's minds that are your listeners, Luca, would anyone call these a success? Okay, I don't think so. All right, would anybody call the takeover of Iran? Okay, which, by the way, yes, they are pissed at us still. Okay,
No.
would anybody call that a success? Well, the CIA does. Okay, they call that a success, and they're only half a step away from turning the United States itself into a banana republic. Guess what? With concentration camps in New Mexico, Arizona, the whole bit. That's what's going on. You know, Obama didn't stop anything. All those executive appointments that he could have changed or deleted, that the village idiot put into place. Okay, no, he didn't. He just made them better, tighter. You know, I mean, domestic surveillance. Guess what? It's going on stronger than ever. Stronger than ever. You know, do you think that there's a closed audience between you, Luca, and your audience? Oh no, afraid not. No, those ELINT folks, and I'm sure they cringe when they hear that. ELINT, electronic intelligence folks, yes, are collecting. All right. Oh, I got some very interesting information too over the last weekend. Okay, since that was the celebration of the 100th year of the birth of JFK. Okay, John F. Kennedy. Okay, yes. First of all, I want to know who shot Kennedy through the throat. Okay, first shot. Looking at the tie, the silver tie that's in the Smithsonian, yes. Is there anybody with both their hemispheres connected and working that can look at that tie and say, oh no, he was shot from behind? Okay, he was shot from the front. All right. And yes, it turns out now that his wife, Jackie, the wonderful Jackie Kennedy, did overhear talk by the Secret Service that there was going to be an assassination on Kennedy, okay, her husband. And so, on top of everything else, what happens is the Secret Service is 4 yards away, and there was a bullet that fragmented into the back of President Kennedy's skull, which blew his skull apart. Okay, his skull was blown apart. That's when he died right there. He was still alive when that bullet went through his throat from the front, but no, the bullet from behind, guess what? Okay, that took his head apart. That came from an M16, actually an M15, 223 caliber, okay, high velocity light infantry weapon, okay. And yes, it was a Secret Service man who pulled the trigger from 4 yards away, and that's what blew Kennedy's skull apart. But the shot that actually ended his life right then and there was the second shot, and that was from behind. His occipital lobes exploded from behind. All right. So yes, and believe me, the Secret Service went into full lockdown, full protection mode. Okay. I can't tell. They said it was an accident. Secret Service did. I don't think it was. Accidents don't hit somebody point blank. The President of the United States. He could have hit anybody else. Why would he? How did he manage to pull a trigger on the President of the United States? With one of the important factors about that is the M16, as I've known all my life, qualified on the M16, has a pistol grip. It doesn't have a rifle grip. It has a pistol grip that you can shoot, from the hip, any position you want. All right, and you grab it, you hold on to it, you squeeze the trigger. You've got a pistol in your hand. Very accurate pistol with a lot of power and velocity. All right. So yes, that's what it appears to be now. But what I heard last weekend was something that has never been heard before, and it was heard, and I heard this, and I went to an investigative journalist, okay, by the name of Dan Hennon. Dan Hennon came out to see me, on the investigation of the Phil Marshall case. Okay, Phil Marshall is the person who brought it actually to the American people, and most American people have never heard his name, that yes, it was the Bush family who contracted with the Saudis, okay, to pay for the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center in New York City, all right, intentionally, and the Israelis were hired to do the engineering, the destruction of the World Trade Center, okay. Yes, it was Phil Marshall. I actually went to Phil Marshall's home, okay, and matched up some of the forensic factors with what I've been looking at for 4 years. And yes, I could see my former home in the background, by the way. I pointed it out to Dan Hennon, where my former home was when this assassination of Phil Marshall and his 2 children actually happened. Okay. So, and I found out too that yes, the dog was shot in the face. There was another dog that somebody had given Phil Marshall, and I think I know where the dog is. Okay. The other dog was given to Phil to provide some security. Unfortunately, it was a dog that had been traumatized as a military service dog. So when all the shooting and torture started happening, yes, I did say torture. Okay, yes, that dog ran for its life. Okay, it ran approximately 5 miles. Okay, it is still alive today, and the chip that dog is carrying is very interesting. What it has to say. All right. Yes, it was chipped by the U.S. government. Okay, so, but what I found out on that issue is, first of all, there is a 5th manuscript. I hope everybody's listening to this. 4 manuscripts have been accounted for. All right, there is actually a 5th manuscript. Yes, and it was hidden, and Phil Marshall did not give that manuscript up because of the torture that he was enduring. All right. Yes. So what we have is an Israeli-directed hit squad, and I did say Israeli, I didn't stutter, Israeli hit team that studied the whole effect, okay, of the assassination, and they actually executed the assassination of Phil Marshall and children and dog, okay, for approximately 10 months. And no, they never did find the mysterious mailman, okay, who was doing the surveillance
right.
and the reconnaissance of the Marshall home, right? Okay. And yes, it is the same group that has murdered the Crowley family, okay, the Crowley family in Minnesota, okay. And they are also the same team that was brought in to kill the British cryptologist, okay, the young cryptologist who kept finding very mysterious information going on for British intelligence. Yes, he was killed. Supposedly, he was killed by, this is the one I always love, by misadventure, okay. His body was found locked from the outside with the padlock in a duffel bag inside a bathtub. Okay, and of course, British intelligence says it was death by misadventure. No, sorry, folks. Two Israeli males and an Israeli female were seen leaving the apartment. Gotcha. So what we have here is not ongoing death squads running around. Okay, that most of them probably will go to work once they finish with a government service. They will go to work for the Russian-Israeli syndicate, who, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, is running the United States right now from the Oval Office. All right? And if you don't believe me, just ask Mr. Kushner, okay? Jared Kushner, okay? Yes, the United States is now, and it has been for a long time, been run by the Russian-Israeli mob, okay? That's something that needs to get out there. I'm getting a whole lot of hand wringing, weak sister nonsense. Oh, they can't believe that. No, they don't want to believe that. You got to have evidence for all this. Sorry, folks. the evidence is sitting in the Oval Office right now, okay? Yes, this is more than what he expected, and he didn't expect any kind of communications leaks. The President of the United States had never been in an intelligence operation, nor had he been a president of a country, let alone the United States. But that's what we have here. We have the Russian-Israeli mob zeroing in on the United States, and the big project that is going to be implemented, okay, after the country of North Korea is dealt with, okay, I didn't stutter when I said that. Yes, the country of North Korea is being dealt with, all right. You know, what can you say about the premier of Russia, okay, Vladimir Putin, contacting and speaking with the head of North Korea every day? What do they talk about? Hairstyles, okay? I mean, let's face it, that's a collection of hairstyles, like I've never seen before. Kim Jong-un and the President of the United States, his hairstyle, what is it with all these people and their hair? Okay.
Oh,
but
that
the
reminds
thing
me.
is,
That reminds me.
is this.
That reminds me. I'm sorry. I got to say this. For people that don't know about 9/11, Larry Silverstein and Netanyahu would call each other every Sunday and talk for hours. For years, they've talked every Sunday. I could say the same thing. What would they have to be talking about for years, every Sunday? It's stuff to think about. So when you do investigate, you find out more and more. Just like what you were talking about, Greg, on the last show, that all 19 hijackers were CIA employees, right?
Yes, right. And what happened? I turned on the TV this week, and here's the man who stamped the visas of all 19 hijackers. He's talking like he's a celebrity expert, okay, on what's going on in the White House. What is it? When all of this starts to happen, you see all these goons and attack dogs coming out of the Bush camp. These are all Bush folks, okay? We see, was it Robert Mueller? Okay, he's the lapdog of George H.W. Bush. Okay, he's the man who covered up any investigation the FBI was supposed to have done. Okay, and I know about the FBI investigations. Remember, I briefed the FBI on what happened with Abu Ghraib and the weapons of mass destruction that were in Iraq. It was me briefing them. All right. Yes, and those records are still available, and those records were one of the first things that Donald Trump was briefed with by James Comey. James Comey had just come into office, and he was sworn in 2 months before I briefed the FBI on the entire sequence of what happened with the weapons of mass destruction that were in Iraq. Okay. All right. And the sarin gas, okay, that was still being used, and the VX gas that amazingly turned up in the possession of Kim Jong-un. He just killed his brother, okay? He just killed his brother with it, okay? And then also somebody named A.Q. Khan. How did that come across, Luca? Did that come across well? A.Q. Khan.
Yes.
A, the letter A, Q, the letter Q, Khan, K-H-A-N. All right, that's Kilo, Hotel, Alpha, November. Okay, where is Mr. A.Q. Khan now? The man who brought rocket trajectory and velocity and big bombs, okay, really big bombs to North Korea. We're talking serious kimchi here, all right? That's what we're talking about. Guess what? It was the hero of Pakistan who brought the bomb to North Korea, and guess who refined the telemetry? It was, what was his name? William Jefferson Clinton, okay, who sold the telemetry. Okay, it was so sensitive it wasn't even classified. Who sold the telemetry for rocket missile research, ICBM research, and MIRV re-entry research, sold it to the Chinese for donations, political donations. This is the same guy that let people pay a fee to sleep in the bed of Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so is that, and took 10% of the Bush family cocaine imports into Mina Airport. Okay, what part about any of this don't people understand? Okay, I mean, I'm completely baffled by it myself. What part about get a rope and hang these sons of bitches from the nearest lamppost don't they understand? Jesus, you know, and then the JFK thing. Jumping back to the JFK thing. Okay, it was his centennial. Okay, birthday, but somebody that was the son of and his dad was the accountant of Joseph Marcello. Okay, Joseph Marcello. Guess who's highly implicated in the JFK assassination? Oh, okay. Yes, and guess who the nephew was? Okay, Lee Harvey Oswald. Does this ring a bell? Okay, with anybody? Does this come together at all? Do these dots connect at all? Okay, I'm not the smartest bulb in the box, as I'm fond of saying, but somebody should be able to put it, together when it's laid out, so simply that even George W. Bush could understand it. Okay, all right. That's what I see about all of this right now. Is yes, but the big thing about all that is that I was told the 5 countries that had to sign off on the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy. 5 countries, including Winston Churchill, all right, including the Soviet premier. Who was it at that time? Brezhnev, okay, Kosygin, all right. Somebody signed off from Russia, okay, the workers' paradise, okay. Yes, it gets worse and worse the more I hear, okay. It seemed like everybody in the whole planet knew that JFK was going to be shot except for JFK.
But this is just to generalize for people that might be starting to watch shows like this and starting to wake up and wanting more and more information. In a general sense, we started off the show by talking about Aboriginal people, and you have to be desensitized to be able to do stuff like that. You have to really be able to not care about human life, and this is what everything comes down to. So it's kind of hard to imagine for Tom, Dick, or Harry to have your own government do things like this against their own people. But the thing is that they never cared. They never cared about their own people since 1776 or before. Find out when the Rothschild family started up. Find out that all wars were funded on both sides ever since 1776. And then you hear recently somebody by the name of David Robert Steele, who comes out. He's an ex-Intel whistleblower now. He says that every single terrorist attack in the U.S. was a false flag. Every single terrorist attack in the U.S. was a false flag. So that should give you a really good idea of what's going on, I think. And that's, it's the epitome of desensitization. You have church and state that are working against the Aboriginal people since God knows when. And this is just a continuation of it. And then you have things like the Georgia Guidestones. The what? The Georgia Guidestones in Delaware County, Georgia. One of the first new commandments on those, on those stones that say that the population has to be reduced to 500 million or below. So it's one thing after another. And also, I want to mention that the reason why Greg is coughing and drinking like that and getting up every now and then is also because of a state that he has to live with for the rest of his life because of what he lived through when he was poisoned and he was sickened in Iraq. And that's another show that we did on depleted uranium that you might want to see, because he's, we're lucky he's not coughing like this today, like he usually is, because it's, it's unfathomable the amount of evil that, governments are able to put on their people. It's crazy, Greg.
Well, right. No, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't affect anyone until somebody disappears, or somebody gets arrested for something bizarre. Okay, on a large scale. It's like the police. The police abuses that we're seeing. How many police now? These militarized, weaponized police that we're seeing, which didn't start till, by the way, 9/11. Okay. How many of those police are being actually punished, for shooting people, kicking doors into their front doors in, and shooting the people that, basically at 11 at night, they come in to challenge who's coming into their house. The police shoot them, and you see any kind of punishment whatsoever? No. This is all intentional, what's going on right now. And yes, the camps are opening up. They are receiving guests, okay? That's what the government refers to them as guests. In New Mexico and Arizona, yes, and they're being run. I just found out those camps are not, yes, they're supplied by federal logistics, but they're also private camps, okay? They're privately owned, private prisons. Has anybody checked to see how profitable private prisons have become? You really should, because some of your listeners and other people are just allowed to be, guests, permanent guests of those camps. All right? FEMA camps is what they call them for short. All right? So, no, this last 2 weeks have been pretty amazing to me. And another thing too is can you really put this back on a family? One family, one man that has started all this, even the JFK assassination. Sure, LBJ was a crook. I don't think there's anybody that would doubt that LBJ was a crook. But guess what? Guess what organization he worked with, LBJ? He worked with the Joseph Marcello mob, of the Southeast mob, right? And guess who was connected directly for getting dirty work done was George H.W. Bush. Any drug dealing, okay, from the oil platforms, guess what? No problem. There's George H.W. Bush. And who do we see at the assassination site? From the man who's probably, as far as I know, the only man in the whole world who doesn't know where he was on the morning of the assassination in November of '63. George H.W. Bush, okay? What is it going to take? I was in France not too long ago, and I'll tell you what, one thing, and by the way, I was on the same train where 3 American servicemen stood up and attacked a hijacker who was going to kill everybody on the train that he could, okay? They attacked and they saved the day, all right? Yes, Americans can do that. But what is it about Americans sitting in front of their TV sets, feeding at the trough of American media, all right? What is it about standing up and protecting themselves that they simply can't do? I don't know, but the French certainly can. If the French government does something they don't like, they get on their, like the French farmers, they raise taxes on them. Oh no, they get in their wagons and they tow, their tractors, and they tow wagons full of horse manure down the Champs-Élysées to the governmental palace, and they dump those right at the footsteps of the French palace there in Paris, okay? That's to protest something that they don't like. You've seen how many thousands of Americans slaughtered now in Afghanistan, Iraq. Hideous, hideous images coming out of both countries. What do you see? You see the American people doing nothing. Sure, they had a protest. Absolutely, the biggest protest probably in history when the Iraq War started. Did it continue? Oh no, it stopped almost entirely. That's what we've got to do, is take back our country. All right. The CIA has completely subjugated most countries of the world, and they did it intentionally, and they've done it completely, utilizing proven methods and techniques to subjugate whole populations of people. The last group of people that they haven't fully subjugated, okay, that can actually do something, are the United States citizens. Believe me, people. Oh yeah, well this guy's full of it. Oh, he's full of nonsense. Oh, what a joke. Mm-hmm. You are very close to finding out how this is not a joke right now. Show me one 9/11 executive order that has been repealed or even lessened in its intensity. Okay, none. They've all been tightened down because the American people just sit here. Ed Snowden put his life on the line to show these people, everyone, how the CIA has completely compromised the United States and the rights of citizens. Constitution, remember who said that the Constitution was just a piece of paper? This ought to send chills down your spine. Okay, that piece of paper, okay, who he would not be held responsible by was George W. Bush. George W. Bush stated he would not be held responsible by a, quote, goddamn piece of paper. All right? What does that tell you about your rights, my rights, anyone's rights, okay, according to the family that basically started the CIA, okay? Yes, Averell Harriman and Prescott Bush were responsible for starting the CIA to match the same capability of information gathering that the French had with the Rothschild family, okay? Yes, they had the finest intelligence group in the world at that time. The Rothschilds did. They probably still do, in every sense of the word. The Germans did. They had, the Abwehr, the Gestapo, fantastic organizations. We won't even mention Russia and the NKVD, all right? We won't mention that. No one in the United States had anything. It was a gentleman's club. Guess who decided, to take the gloves off? It was the Bush family and the Harriman family. Okay. Some of the wealthiest people in the world got together and said, let's create a group that will provide us and our chums, okay, decent intelligence to start wars and stop wars, okay? I thought about that as I was going by today. We spoke about what, an hour ago, 2 hours ago, Luca, about 2 hours ago? Mm-hmm. About that time, I was going right by the Bohemian Club. Is there anybody in America that doesn't know what the Bohemian Club is? Guess what happens there? All right? Guess what happens? Their decisions, the decisions of America, and those decisions affecting U.S. citizens, and how many thousands are going to die in every convenient war that they want to start. All right? That's what happens there. That's what has gone on with all this. Why do you think we're getting attacks? We're getting 250,000 attacks damn near every day now. Okay, this radio station is getting attacks. Yes. Why is that? Because of me. Hey, I'm just a man of the people. Okay, with my one show a week I get. Man of the people, salt of the earth. Okay, there's nothing exceptional about me at all. Mr. C+ kind of guy. Okay, that's me. All right, what is it that's going out there that is getting us attacked by Ukraine, the country of Ukraine, with U.S. intelligence assets emitting electronic intercepts okay? Guess what? We're talking about something that is making the agency very uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable. Yes, yeah, and everybody should know by now, bureaucracies don't live to serve, okay? Forget that. Put that out of your 19th century thinking, all right? Bureaucracies live to exist, grow, and increase double their budgets basically every year. That's all they want to do. You know, it's like some sinister animal. Okay, that's all they want to do. They don't care how they do it as long as they do it. Okay, cocaine, heroin. Okay, arms deals, gold smuggling. Okay, gold smuggling. Oh, who would do that, Mr. Bush, George H.W. Bush? What happened to all that Chinese gold that was sequestered there in the Philippines, Mr. MacArthur, General MacArthur? Okay, I'm saying Mr. Bush because guess who his G2 was? his governmental intelligence officer was George H.W. Bush. All right, guess who? Okay, so what we have here, we have a situation that the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, is very angry about. Okay, they haven't quite been able to close that loop, and now they've got little competition. Okay, in the White House. Okay, in the Oval Office from the Russian-Israeli mob. Okay, so that's the state of affairs right now with America. We have a Russian-Israeli syndicate sitting in the Oval Office, all right, with somebody somebody who said, hey, you know, when he was asked just what was it 2 weeks ago, what he thought about running the United States of America, he said his response was, "This is some really hard shit." Pardon me? Pardon me? Okay, this is some really hard shit. And now they've got a Russian investigation that's implicating everybody, okay, everyone, damn near, okay, if they're not taking Russian money or being manipulated by the Russian intelligence services of the GRU and the KGB, excuse me, the FSB and the SVR. Okay, sorry, I confused those, okay. Yes, guess what? Asked Mrs. Clinton, asked Mr. Clinton, okay, about Chinese money that they've been taking all along and selling away our defenses. Okay, ask the Bushes about their employees. Okay, like Saddam Hussein, who worked for the CIA since 1959. All right, ask the heads of the Iranian government who actually had their own, the Shah of Iran, you know, put into place by the CIA. What is this? What are we seeing here? And now we're talking about invading Iran. We're talking about, you know, casting aside that agreement that we have with Iran. Okay, the SAVAK. Okay, guess who designed the SAVAK? Okay, the intelligence service for Iran. It was Israel and the United States. Gee, the kinder, gentler SAVAK. Who said that term, kinder, gentler? I'll give you a clue. It was, you know, that kinder, gentler president. Remember him? Okay. The what was it? The Mr. October Surprise, who engineered keeping the Iranian hostages a month longer so they could make sure that they got Mr. Reagan into office. Remember that? Okay. Who again? Who could think of something monstrous to do as keeping the U.S. hostages, okay, from the Iranian embassy hostage for another month? Okay, they'd already been there a year. Oh, so what? They won't care. They won't mind, right? Okay. Yeah, it was the Bush family, Mr. Bush himself. You don't believe me? Go read the book, October Surprise, by Barbara Honegger. Okay, she had to leave government service because she got wind of it. And there's a big picture of her with a not very happy looking Mr. Bush sizing her up. She's lucky to be alive. and Ronald Reagan, okay? You know, Mr. Grade B actor himself, okay? They're not doing anything to the Native American tribes, Indian tribes in the mountains of El Salvador. They're not hanging them, torturing them, murdering children because it makes good copy, okay? No, they're not really doing that. Well, the day that they were doing it, according to Mr. Reagan, okay, yes, that was happening. Thousands of innocent villagers in Guatemala, El Salvador, were doing this, okay? We're doing exactly that by their select American trained groups, all right? You know, the fellow I spoke to was a Nicaraguan, okay, last weekend, who his father was the accountant for Joseph Marcello, all right? Oh no, no, we've had been backing up Somoza forever, okay, in that one country alone. Somoza, one of the most brutal dictators of all time. Somoza. So please, you know, either the media does what Liberty Beacon is doing, steps up, grows a brass set, okay, steps up to the plate and starts putting out truthful shows, okay, or there's an announcement that yes, the 6 media moguls and giants, okay, like Mr. Murdoch, okay, they all get together and say, yes, we're feeding the American people glop, okay, we're charging you for glop, all right, it's swill right from the trough, all right, engineered by the Bush family. 9/11, things that, you know, things were already in the toilet to begin with, but hey, they made sure they got flushed big time, okay? So yes, what do you do with a treasonous group of people like the Bush family? Okay, you know, I'd love to hear from your listeners. What should we do with a group of people that have been responsible for millions of deaths, okay, for selling Cyclone B to the Nazis and then cutting a deal, cutting a great deal with the Nazis for further royalties, okay? All right, Rhineland-Westphalia Electric. Guess who owns a big part of Rhineland-Westphalia Electric? Prescott Bush, the Bush family, because guess what? After this was happening, when the Nazis were basically in a position to take the world, guess who was doing business with them? Guess who put them in contact with IBM so they could do a better job of locating the Jews and exterminating the Jews? All right. Guess who? Who'd be so monstrous as to do that? Remember that MacArthur, what is it? I will return with the Philippines. When that cowardly son of a bitch had the nerve to leave thousands of troops, his own troops, behind for the tender mercies of the Japanese. Yeah, because he wanted to make sure he got his gold mine. He actually owned the company that was mining the gold. Okay, that found the big Japanese deposits. Okay, that were buried on Mount Iga in the Philippines. And how much of that do you think he returned to the rightful victims? How much of that $23 billion that you think the family has now in Hungary, of all places, of those Hungary bank accounts of $23 billion he's ever returned? Oh, that kinder, gentler man, okay, who doesn't like lawyers, okay? Gosh, I remember what on the eve of the Gulf War, okay, when the Emir and the Prince of Saudi Arabia and Kuwait said, "Hey, we want to help every single troop, American, all the Allied troops, with all the debts that they incurred to come here and liberate us, to protect us." Who do you think stopped them? It was $75,000 that they wanted to pay each troop. Who do you think stopped them? Who do you think stopped them? Okay, it was George H.W. Bush, because then he used the quote, the saying, which I just choke on. We don't send mercenaries around the world. The Bush family doesn't send mercenaries around the world. I mean, sorry, what is it, Blackwater, okay, or Exy, or whatever make-believe name they come up with, okay. Oh, and by the way, Do you know who they work for when they're working for the government? Okay, so they're not held accountable. This mercenary group, okay. Guess what organization they work for? They don't work for the U.S. military. They work for the State Department. Mercenaries working for the State Department. You don't believe me? Your listeners don't believe me? Call up Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton. That's who Blackwater worked for. All those little covert assassinations, all that drug monitoring and drug protection. Hillary Clinton. Okay, ask her about that. And we almost elected, that cutthroat, miserable, lying, backstabbing. What's a good adjective? Okay, I can't even think of a good adjective to describe the disaster. Yeah, we went from one disaster to another. Okay, is what we did. But the thing is, fortunately, we were able not to deal with her because we wouldn't have stood a chance. The people of America would not stood a chance. All right, just you don't think so? Just ask Mr. Seth Rich. Oh, I'm sorry, we can't ask Mr. Seth Rich because he was shot at 3 a.m. by 2 bullets to the back of the head. He was her campaign manager. All right, when they found out that and this is always mysterious, 45,000 emails were being sent to Julian Assange. Okay. Uh-oh, we have a situation here. Okay, and I want to say this as a last issue. Okay, for your listeners and the American people, it's not a hacking issue here. All right, that's what everybody's thinking. The Russians have hacked both political parties. Okay, who did they manipulate? It's not a hacking issue here. There's hardly any actual evidence of a hacking issue going on. We have a situation going on where leaking is what's causing all of this problem. Forget hacking, leaking, all right? That's what we have going on, leaks, okay? Good. Well, see, it didn't work so hard with the whistleblowers when they start throwing them into prison, just as Mr. John Curacao, who caught the, and that's another issue, caught Abu Zubaydah, who now is becoming apparent he was CIA. That Abu Zubaydah, the mastermind of 9/11, bringing down the towers, 9/11, okay? And something that was pointed out to me this week, show me a single hijacker that wasn't working for the CIA.
There you go.
Okay, ask Mr. Brennan. All right.
Well, maybe on our next show we can zero in on what you were talking about earlier, which was really interesting because we only have a few minutes left, about the Americans. What's it going to take for Americans to wake up? Why aren't they waking up? What is the problem? I'd like to hear your voice on that, maybe in the next broadcast, because I have a few things I want to throw your way myself. But before we go, I just want you to have the floor again for the last few comments.
Well, thank you. I greatly appreciate it. By the way, my case now, when I was renditioned and tortured, my case now is up before the Supreme Court, okay? And from what I can find out, yes, they are going to fight me on it. They are going to fight me tooth and nail. I just love that. Has the Supreme Court, has the U.S. Attorney's Office ever heard of something called the Bill of Rights? Or how about the U.S. Constitution, okay? But they're going to fight me. They've already got 5 experts. See why you detest experts? 5 experts with their marching orders, okay, to defeat my lawsuit, okay? No matter what, they're going to do their best to defeat my lawsuit, okay? Sorry, I think there was an attempted jamming just now, okay? So we better make this fast, okay? And thank you, by the way, Luca. And I want your listeners to thank you too, because as a result of our discussions, we have made the Liberty Beacon the most #1 attacked radio station, and this let me see, how can I put this? This communications media, okay, that is unique, it's alive, it's free, okay, it's not owned by anybody other than a few chosen brave souls, okay. Yes, I know it's a podcast, but hey, the important thing is it's one of the few, if the only one, that's out there doing it. That's what's important right now. It's a radio medium, and it's the last beacon out there, okay, and it's being attacked regularly. So we need to get your listeners, all your listeners, listening and be prepared to do something. Don't sit on their butts and say, oh, well, gee, that's really bad. Oh, gosh, it sounds like a turtle, doesn't it? Oh, really bad. Okay, yeah, sounds like one of our wimpy politicians, okay, weak sister politicians, okay. In the meantime, we've got Robert Mueller, okay, lapdog, who's going to do the investigation, the FBI investigation, okay. Oh, boy, that'll be effective, okay. We had Joe Lieberman, okay, who almost got to take over the FBI in James Comey's place. Say, what? Joe Lieberman, Mr. APAC himself, okay. Oh, and then on top of everything else, we had John Brennan, okay, who stamped the visas of the 19 hijackers, okay. Mr. Converted to Islam because it looked good with the Bush administration, okay. Yes, that John Brennan, all right. I hope, hopefully these statements are getting through, and I don't want, as I always say on your show, I don't want anybody to believe me. Don't believe me. Look this stuff up for yourself, all right? Everyone should be researching, because that nullifies, that stops the effects of the Bush education program. Leave no child behind. We're on our second or third generation of leave no imbecile behind, okay? The only way to stop it is by educating people, getting people out there to question everything that our government says. CNN, with that whole group, hey, question everything they say. Fox News, I really question everything, because the man who informed my group that the 19 hijackers were going to do 9/11, okay, he's working now. He got a spot. He's an MC, an anchor on Fox News, okay? One of the bravest men I'd ever met. Sold out so he could go to work for Fox News, okay? So, hey, question. Everyone should be questioning exactly what is coming out of the tube every day, okay? Don't believe it. I don't care how pretty, the female co-anchors are, okay? I don't care. Question every single thing that comes out of that box, all right? Because that is the only way that the agency has been able to subjugate the United States of America. And they have, and boy, they're going to finish the job very shortly, all right? So that's the last few things I have to say for this evening.
And that's pretty well where we're going to leave it, because what Greg is really saying is that we need to wake up really fast. And I'm going to say this very bluntly, we're not responsible for the sleepers. Every religion has said it. If you believe something and people don't understand it and they don't believe it and they don't follow it, you wipe the dust off and you walk away. You're not responsible to change their minds. And if you do try and change their minds, if you do try and convert them, you're no better than the people that you bitch about in the first place. So it's our job to bring out information and true news for people that are ready to hear it. And we're going to touch on that next broadcast, Greg. So for everybody listening, this is Luca Majno and Frank Gregory Ford for Learn to Unlearn. We're going to be with you every week from now on TLBTV. And we thank you so much for listening. Have a good night.